Shalom Akim, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Kwakadash, double honors and salutations to the elders and apostles of great stone rule. Well, I'm the Akim preaching the gospel of Lord Yahushai, true to the four corners of the earth, in sincerity and truth. This is Brother Nash DC Camp, short lesson to edify the hope for elect. So, situation in Lebanon. I was about to say Babylon, yeah. so Babylon over there. It's all Babal over there, called Babal in Lebanon. And that's what you see, man, confusion. All right, so it just shows you that the earth is going into a phase of turmoil now. All right, due to the economic instability and the violence and all the protests, the uproars of the people. This is what the Lord talked about, man. All right. So I just played this video real quick and just shows you that Babylon's on its way out, man. It's what you gotta deal with. All right. It's what you gotta deal with. So I'm gonna get a quick scripture. It's from the book of Jeremiah, chapter 4, verse 19. It says, my bowels, I am pained at my very heart. Mine heart maketh a noise in me. I cannot hold my peace, because thou hast heard, O my soul, the sound of the trumpet, the alarm of war. All right. And that's what's coming upon the earth. And this is just one of the dominoes, man. You know how Esau is. He's got to set up a stage, and then he's got to set up another opportunity for him to take advantage of. All right. So I'll play this video real quick, and I get some more precepts.
Alfred, what are your thoughts on the state of emergency, right? Because again, as Paula there said, on paper, this all sounds scary, right? Where it seems like this will be just like, martial law and very, very strict, the revocation of freedoms of press and expression, all of the above, doesn't sound like a very good recipe, especially at a time when Lebanese are quite legitimately, as I said, angry.
But if you say that over here in the United States, they'll consider you to be a conspiracy terrorist, a nut job, a lefty, someone with some mental disorder, some schizos and all that. But that's the nature of the world we're living in, man. It's all, embroiled in disaster, all right? And that's how the Lord Yahweh Shema Shai is going to let this place go down. The rulership of Esau and the heathen. It's going to be a disastrous turn, turning upside down, all right?
Because of the Beirut explosion, as well as even before that, of course, for a host of other reasons.
Well, historically speaking, we had several occasions where they have imposed martial laws and emergencies in different occasions, but I can say that most of them, just if we exclude a couple of occasions, were not practical, and they didn't succeed by implementing the martial law due to various reasons. The exclusions were in the 50s, when we had the incidents between the Islamic and the Christian groups, the Islamic groups who were part of Abdel Nasser at that time, Arabism, and former President Camille Chamon. The second incident was in the early 80s, when Amin Gemayel was the president of the Lebanese Republic. And if you take other exclusions during the beginning, for instance, during the beginning of the war, they have tried to impose the state of emergency, but it didn't work out. Due to that, the army in Lebanon, and we have to take this into concern, the nature of the army is different than the other countries in the region. To elaborate more, the army here is falling under the control and dominance and the influence of the confessional groups. And the main...
And that's the reason why, nations fall, division, all right? And that's just part of it, man. Esau knows that Lebanon can't really stand, because there's a vision All you gotta do is just create some distraction, and then from there, initial fractures. All right, and it's also going to affect Syria because Syria is basically next door to Lebanon. So imagine how they're going to be able to support Syria when there's trouble in Lebanon. All right, so it's just one domino, falling against another, and then you know how it is when Esau goes after Iran, and all of a sudden China is going to have problems, Russia is going to have problems. You know, it's just the plan, for these elites to have these dominoes fall. Since these nations are linked to each other, they're going to have problems. And that's how Esau likes to take advantage of a situation. That's why you call those strategies for war, war planning, all that. This is just a symptom of that idea. All right, things happen. Whatever the situation was, when some folks say it was a nuclear missile that added the cherry on top of the blast, or whatever, it doesn't really change. Because the nations are linked together. So once one falls, next one gotta fall in line too. All right, and that's exactly what we're looking forward to. So just imagine how they're going to coordinate a different strategy when the so-called state of Israel try to make a move on both of them. It's going to be total chaos. But who knows, man? How the UN and NATO, EU and Russia, China, and Iran are going to get involved. So it's just a little testing of the waters. And then they hear the people of the country yelling against their so-called leaders, yelling for them to resign. Then you also see the so-called, Prime Minister of France or President of France, going there as a man on his white horse trying to save the people. And, so it's just messed up, man. People calling for France to take over Lebanon again. Yeah, so it's crazy. It's crazy, to deal with this madness, man. All right. Yep. So this is the book of Isaiah, chapter 24, verse 11. It says, "There's a crying for wine in the streets. All joy is darkened. The mirth of the land is gone." So the people want to go back to their normal lives. They're upset. They're angry, and you see how they declare a state of emergency. All right. So they know the government is basically bankrupt, looking for an opportunity from the IMF and World Bank to give them some so-called financial support. Yeah, so they've been crippled, man. They've been crippled economically. So they have to come up with another way of getting things, into their society, how they're going to conduct trade and commerce. All right. So it's gonna be rough, but nonetheless, it's all good anyway because getting close to the salvation of the nation of Israel, of our people, so-called Negroes, so-called Latinos, and Native Americans, spread out through the four corners of the earth. All right, and then another precept is going to be from the book of 2 Peter, chapter 3, verse 10. It tells you that, but the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, just like that explosion happened. That's how the day of the Lord is gonna be. All right. So it's just a reminder to the prophets, the disciples of the Lord, about Shema Shai, that we need to keep our eyes ready, fixed on the situation that's going on in the world. All right. And to check out the scriptures, in the which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. The earth also and the works therein shall be burnt up. And that's an example. That's just a glimpse of what's going to come. Destruction. Folks thought they're going to have a nice day, a nice weekend, a nice week. All of a sudden, boom, explosion. Yep. So that's what it means. Don't get comfortable. And, all hell is going to break loose very soon, man. So whatever you've learned in the scriptures, just pray, Lord, Yahweh Shema shall help you to apply it so that you have faith and wisdom in these last days, because you're gonna need that faith, man. All the hell you've been catching is just a preparation for the situation you're gonna be faced with. All right. So our final precept is gonna be from the book of Isaiah, chapter 40. All right. Isaiah chapter 40. I'm gonna read verses 15 to 17. It says, "Behold, the nations are as a drop of a bucket." So when these nations are going through troubles and trials and tribulations, understand, man, it doesn't really weight, their sorrows and turmoil doesn't really carry any weight. When you compare that to what our nation, our people, nation of Israel, have to deal with, all right? So it says in Isaiah chapter 40 verse 15, "Behold, the nations are as a drop of a bucket, and are counted as the small dust of the balance. Behold, he taketh up the owls as a very little thing." Yeah, so they're insignificant, but they still have to play a role, all right? And verse 16 says, "And Lebanon is not sufficient to burn, nor the beasts thereof sufficient for a burnt offering." So they're not really qualified, man, to be sacrificed. They are not substance of great value. All right. Yeah, so their prayers are not really answered by the Lord. They are by Shema Shai. The Most High gives grace, but favors them from here, the here and there. But in the long run, they have to play their role. All right, they got a role to play. That's one thing the Lord Yahweh Shema Shai is about. He always gives every nation a chance, to have their so-called time on the stage, their so-called 15 minutes of fame. Yeah, but it's coming to an end, all right? And verse 17 says, "And all nations before him are as nothing, and they are counted to him less than nothing and vanity." All right, so all these nations combined, all the heathens, they're not really, of great significance, or value to the Lord by Shema Shah when you compare them to our people, the nation of Israel. All right, so it doesn't mean that you just go around harassing them and just, damaging their property. You have to use wisdom. The Lord by Shema Shah has put you in a position to make sound judgments. All right. So you understand, man, you're going to feel sad that people are losing their lives here and there. Sure, that's just your flesh speaking, but on a spiritual level, it's just that these things are taking place so that our people can be delivered. So the Lord is basically letting our people know that turmoil is going to come to these people that are of no value. All right, but they still have a role to play. And our people that are counted as the precious jewels of Lord Yahweh Shema Shai, the apples of his eye, have to tighten up. Otherwise, we're going to, be counted as the dust of the balance. And that's what 2/3 of our nation has become. All right? So that's the point that I can hope you've been edified, and I pray that we continue to keep an eye on the situations that's going on over there in the Middle East, man, because it's really necessary to have an idea of what the Lord Yahweh Shema Shai is basically putting in the minds of the people. All right? Shalom.